right, we're going to get started here. All right, looks like we are finally live. I know you guys probably thought I wasn't coming on. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, everyone. I'm going to just have to move this just a little bit so I can actually see the chat in TikTok. Welcome, everyone. Tap the screen, share the live. All right, so we have some good topics to talk about tonight, and I hope that you guys will find some value in this. Tap the screen, share the live so that this can get out to a few more people. Hey, Maureen. Hey, Gab. Nice to see you. Welcome. Okay, so tonight's topic is we're going to talk about processing tough emotions and how to deal with those kind of issues. And some of the ways that I actually deal with this, how I've dealt with this afterwards. So dealing with these kind of challenges. Okay, Chris, I'm going to have to say goodbye. Fuck. There we go. Okay, so we're going to get started. So as you go through this healing journey, as you go through life, there's going to be times where you're going to feel emotions that are not so great. And the typical process that most people are wanting to do is to try and rush you through that process. This is a little bit different. And I'll tell you why that my way is typically a little bit faster in dealing with those emotions and feeling them to the full depth so that you can actually release those rather than doing a change state, because everybody wants the quick fix, the get through it fast, and just give me the thing that makes me feel happy, right? And yes, I am a happiness coach, and this is what I do, but how I do this is a little bit different than most people share online. Like it's all about, oh, just do this quick meditation and everything's going to be fine, and do this, affirmation and you're going to be like completely enlightened and angels will be singing and everything else like that. And oftentimes that's not the way it goes, right? It's like, oh, just get outside and enjoy some sunshine. I'm not putting those things down at all, because they are effective, those are helpful, and if you try those first and they work, great. This talk tonight is a little bit more for when you've tried some of those typical things that you've used before, and they don't seem to be working, and you're going through a tough time, whether that's processing a loss, a breakup, a death in the family, a disappointment, any of those kind of feelings. There's a little bit of a grieving process that you need to actually go through. And I'm going to share this. So this is one of the things that I had actually worked through today. So like I said, I actually share my personal experience, strength, and hope of what I actually use to change. That is Felix. He wants to get in on this. Honestly. Are you done? Okay, good. Friggin' show stealer. Okay, so he's done his hollering now. All right, so like I said, I share my every time with Felix. I know, right? It doesn't matter if I started early, started late. It's like he just waits. He hears me talking, and he automatically assumes I'm talking with him. Vermin. Okay, so dealing with challenging emotions, right? So oftentimes people are always looking for the quick fix, the distraction. This is where addictions end up coming from. You try to find some way to distract yourself, and humans are really good at turning anything into an actual addiction. So that could be food, that could be drugs, that could be alcohol, like any of those things. Some people it becomes a problem because it started as a solution, as a way to avoid the feelings. So the true way to get through and actually heal is to actually sit in your feelings and sit in the shit, as like I like to talk about. Now, I do put a time limit on it that there I give myself 3 days. If you're in a funk, you're going through something, you're struggling, having a bit of a hard time processing emotions and getting through whatever challenges that you're facing, I do put a 3 day limit on it of being like right down in the dumps kind of thing. It usually doesn't take me that long. Even when I'm going through a hard time, it can be a few hours of really sitting in those emotions and processing it and actually feeling them, actually feeling those emotions, what it feels like. So if you're feeling depression, if you're feeling anger, you're feeling anxiety, any of those feelings, actually sitting with them, not trying to actually change them. Why? Because there is valuable information, valuable lessons from actually feeling those feelings. When you find things to actually avoid those feelings or to try and quickly change the state and get yourself out of it, I mean, let's face it, we've probably been doing that our whole lives. I know myself I have. You have work, you have kids, you have whatever, right? So we compartmentalize our feelings all the time, but you do that so many times in a row, and what ends up happening is you have an emotional debt that you have to pay. And then it becomes a larger price, a longer processing time for you to actually get through those. Ask me how I know, because the last 2 years I've been going through that. Now, when these things come up, being able to make sure that you support yourself in a proper way, give yourself whatever nurturing that you actually need, and it has to be something that you find truly nurturing. So, if maybe you've been going through, so like myself, I've been going through trying to focus on eating healthier and everything. I took those restrictions off today. It's like, no, you want to eat nachos? Go ahead, eat nachos. You want to eat some Skittles? Go ahead, eat Skittles. Well, it wasn't Skittles. Reese, mini Reese bites or something. Reese pieces, that's it, right? So I got into those and I just kind of let myself do that. And without any guilt, without any shame, that's really important because you're processing enough of these emotions. I gave myself permission to nap in the chair and to give myself physical comfort. I do this hugging thing where I kind of like hug myself. And that is something that I found really valuable in. And it's not only that, it's the number one, paying attention to the thoughts that come through your mind. Don't try to stop them. Don't try to write them down. Don't try to process them. Just observe them. Observe what's there. Don't act on anything, especially if your thoughts end up going a little bit on the dark side, right? So if they go on the dark side, then it ends up, I don't know, but if I did like fried cat, Becca, it would probably Felix is going to be the first on the line to get that. Because he's a little asshole that likes to jump in and disrupt my life. So, yeah. So, but that is a great question, Becca. Thank you so much for asking that. It really helped enlighten and bring joy to the group. So, thank you. So, um, as you're going through these emotions and you're processing these, really sitting with them, feeling them, and not trying to change them. Observe them, understand where those thoughts are actually coming from, and really pay attention to really sitting with them and understanding where did I first feel these kind of feelings. Maybe you're having to grieve something, maybe you're having to let something go. Maybe it's not so much the thing that is going on today, but sometimes it's um, the hardest loss of anything is the dream of what it is we thought it was going to be, whether that was a job that we thought was going to be, hey, I'm going to retire here and this is going to be like the best, and it turned out not to be. um, or there was a change, or something happened that maybe you got let go or laid off or something like that. So when you go through these periods of losses, you have to process those emotions. And if you have something like, say, a job loss, and you feel that grieving that loss of the job, it weighs on your self worth, your confidence, all of those kind of things. But the problem is if you haven't dealt with some other residual emotions of maybe a previous relationship or um, childhood trauma, any of those kind of things, that event that happened recently can trigger not only the emotions from the current event, but it could drag up all of the emotions from previous events, especially if they've been unprocessed. So, learning how to process those emotions and to get through those in a safe way is really important. So, being able to understand and talk yourself through that. Give yourself the comfort as if you've now just been entrusted with the care of a child and you have to comfort that child. So trying to get them to snap out of it when they're having a hard time is not exactly the best process. So letting them feel the feelings that they're feeling, letting yourself feel those feelings that you're feeling, and not trying to be in a hurry to change it is really important. Um, so, where did I learn this? So, afterwards, after I had my suicide attempt when I was 17, and I was released from the hospital, I was sent down to go stay with my grandmother and my grandfather, and some of my cousins came from out west, and um, they visited with me. And what I found that was actually really healing wasn't so much of trying to address the issue head on. That didn't actually work. Anytime somebody tried to talk about it, all it did was bring up feelings of shame and guilt and disappointment with myself and all of those kind of things. And it's caused me to focus on all of the things that I did wrong, which isn't it like it reopens the wound. It doesn't allow for some healing to occur. So one of the best things and that I found was just allowing me to be a human being, right? Rather than trying to be a human doing, right? Uh, can I join the live, ma'am? I agree with you. I'd like to know more. I do this more as training. You're welcome to ask any questions in the chat. I don't really have people come on the live. Maybe after we've gone through the training, then I'll see how I feel at that. Okay? But just to let you know, it's probably more on the side of no. Okay, just to be fair, I don't want to be like my mom that would always tell us, "Oh, we'll see," and you knew that was her nice way of saying no. So I'm trying to be a little bit more upfront here. So after the suicide attempt, just being allowed to be present and not have any expectations of that I should be happier or I should get out of it or change those emotions. I was allowed to feel whatever it was that I needed to feel in the time I needed to feel it. So if I wasn't very talkative, then that's okay. It was okay to not be talkative. If I wasn't, you know, if I was having fun, maybe we're watching a movie or something like that. Or actually, we spend a lot of time telling like ghost stories. My grandmother had this like back porch area, and the kids, like all of us, we were in our teens, and I was a little bit. I'm a couple of years older than my cousins, so and having them they told the best ghost stories, campfire type ghost stories, right? And it just served as a very pleasant distraction and allowed me not to feel any pressure of needing to change those emotions. And what ends up happening is when you are allowed to actually feel those emotions and not feel like you have to hurry up and get over this depression, you have to hurry up and get over this anxiety, you have to hurry up and get over this sadness that you feel. No, no, you don't have to hurry through this. In fact, the less pressure you put on yourself for trying to change your emotions, the faster that they will naturally flow and move to the next stage. But when you try to push, pull, or change any of these things, then it ends up being a problem. We're dealing with how to process tough emotions, Liam. Welcome to the live. So, um, and I'm talking specifically about the time after I had had a suicide attempt and how to deal with some of those emotions afterwards. So these are, like I said, these are tools and things that I have actually used that work for me. I use them today. This process I actually used today because I was feeling down about something that I was disappointed with. And allowing myself that freedom of not having to change that state. And I just sat with those emotions, um, just kind of curled up in a fetal position, kind of like it's almost like recharging your energy. And I like had my arms hugged to kind of reassure myself, to give myself that physical touch of comfort and allowing the space for it. And I allowed myself to sit there as long as I needed to sit there. If I fell asleep, I fell asleep. If I woke up, I woke up. I didn't have to change anything. I switched sides because my hip was bothering me, kind of thing. But I allowed myself to sit with that and fully feel the feelings that I was feeling. And during that time, I also did something that was um, I kind of like redreaming the state. So when you go through some of these emotions that you're feeling, you might be grieving the loss of a dream of what you were expecting to happen, whether that's a relationship and you thought that, hey, this is the love of your life, or what this was the job that was gonna be perfect for me. Whatever challenges that you're going through, whatever emotions that you're feeling, to feel them to the fullest, um, and to look at those dreams and to try to accept where you're at, that it hasn't worked out the way that you wanted, and that's okay, right? That it's okay and that it will be okay, that there could be something even better that comes out of this. And just kind of giving yourself that positive self talk. Um, but it's okay to feel the feelings that you're feeling right now. So it's no different than when I was younger and I had the cat that I had. Her name was Miss Mio. She was a black and white tuxedo cat, and she was put down. And that was the first time experiencing, because she was my cat too. And that was, and actually, it's going to be coming up soon to the anniversary of when she was put down. It was on St. Patrick's Day. So for years, I had this uh, sadness and disappointment that would come up around the anniversary time, but I didn't connect it because that was like a childhood thing. And I didn't really connect it until I realized that there's like these anniversary dates that come up that can trigger sadness in us that we're like, where's this coming from? And until we start to look at some of those emotions, because we might be thinking, why do I feel sad, or why do I feel depressed, or why do I feel discouraged, or something like that. And when I was doing my early recovery stuff, I realized that some of this has to do with anniversary dates. And especially if you're like, there's nothing going on in my life, I shouldn't really feel this way. And I'd always get sad around St. Patrick's Day, and it wasn't until I clued in that that is when my cat got put down, and I was so devastated by that loss, and feeling those feelings. And when I made that connection, then I was like, oh, okay, now I know when St. Patrick's Day comes around, if those emotions come up and they kind of seem they don't like they don't fit for the what's going on, then that's what's going on. It's like, oh, okay, it's that child part of me that's feeling sad at that loss. And that can happen years. Just because you make that connection doesn't mean those emotions won't come back up again. It just means now that you've made that connection, you're much more aware and you can process that faster. You're like, oh, okay, I know what this is. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give that inner child part of me some little bit of extra time, do something that is comforting, that is fun, that allows her to feel okay with that. And so you recognize these connections, these patterns, and you allow yourself that time and space to feel those feelings. And then I know at the time, one of the ways that they tried to comfort me and console me was that I could get another cat. And I was like, I don't want another cat. I wanted my cat. I wanted that cat. And it's funny because it's funny today. It's as I'm talking here, it's like I'm kind of getting another connection. Is that one of the emails that I processed today was one from a vet that in a town that I was living in, and they were reminding me that my cat Ella and Stumpy were due for their appointment, their annual checkup, right? Um, and I had to reply back to the email that my cat Ella actually she passed away last year very suddenly. Not quite sure what happened, whether she choked on some food or a tooth caused a problem, but it was devastating because it was all of a sudden and she just died at my feet and I felt horrible. So it's interesting that as I'm talking through this and I'm dealing with this, like this doesn't get any more live, that there's this connection that I have St. Patrick's Day coming up, which is in the anniversary of Miss Mew, and then also to have to talk about Ella passing away. Um, because my cats, even though Felix drives me friggin' nuts, my cats are like my fur babies, right? I wasn't blessed with children, so cats are my surrogates, right? Um, so when we go through these things, anniversaries can be something that triggers us. And I remember a friend of mine, she had figured out a good way to process it. There was in October around the Canadian Thanksgiving, there were some people that had passed away during that time. So it's like every time that came around, they found that they would feel sad and they'd start to feel down and stuff like that. So what they did is they had been living together for quite a few years, and then they just decided out of the blue that they were going to get married to pull in a happier memory for that time. So you can, this is another tool that you can use is, no, I'm not Chinese. um, this is another tool that you can actually use is to, if you have an anniversary time where these were some challenging, sad times, then finding something that is a happier event or creating a happy memory around those same times is another way to rewrite those anniversary emotions that come up. Also, to recognize that, hey, this is an anniversary and do something to honor the loss of a loved one or something like that. So it could be, you know, you could have a grandparent or a parent or somebody close to you that's passed away at those times. Being able to do something to bring honor or recognition or memory of them and do something like maybe go to your favorite place that you guys used to go to, or watch a favorite movie that you guys used to watch together, something like that, of acknowledging the losses and sitting with them, not trying to change them or to try and get out of those feelings, to actually fully embrace those. And it's the process of doing that of actually feeling your feelings, that is part of the inner work. It makes you much more in tune with your own emotions, and it makes you much more empathetic when you're dealing with other people's emotions. Because if you can have the patience to feel your own feelings and to not try to change them and run away from them, then you can allow space for other people's emotions when they're going through a hard time, and you can be that pillar of support for them because you know how to support your own emotions. And so you're not frightened, you're not afraid of somebody else's emotions if they're feeling depressed or they're feeling anxious or they're feeling angry. Because you feel your feelings to the fullest, it's now no longer a threat for you. And you have that emotional intelligence to be able to help guide somebody else through that process by just giving them the space to feel what it is they feel without having to um, act like they're on fire, that they need to be put out and hurry up and get through this. And oftentimes that's one of the things that empaths or people pleasers get in trouble with is um, they feel those emotions of other people so fully that they naturally want to help and fix. And guys do this a lot of times with girls too, women, right? That they want to fix, they want to solve the problem so she doesn't feel upset about something. But that's not the fullness of life, right? The fullness of life is to feel all of the feelings, including the lows, including the negative or the, the not so fun, happy feelings, because it's through embracing that and being okay with that pain that we are able to, the depths that we can go there are the greatest heights that we can feel in happiness and joy. But if you try to limit that or you try to control it or contain those emotions in ways that you're not allowed full expression of them, then you will end up diminishing and containing your ability to feel happiness and joy and bliss and peace, all of those really, really wonderful emotions. So it's a matter of taking the time to feel whatever it is that you're feeling to the fullest. And so as I went through this process today and I gave myself that permission, no rush, no time limit, no why. And I could do that because I don't actually have constraints right now. Whereas when I was in a 9 to 5, I had those constraints. I had to suck it up, cupcake. And I've done that for many, many years. It was in transport and logistics. So, there's no crying in freight, right? You just had to do what you had to do to get through the day. And guess what? You'd come back in the next day and do it all over again. And it was like nonstop of constant shit to deal with, right? There was always stuff that was late, always rushes that you had to process, always shipments that went missing that you had to find different things, and it was all time sensitive. And you also, like, you had this time sensitive crunch, and then you also had this cost effective crunch too. It's like, well, you can't just ship with the most expensive carrier that's going to get it there the fastest, because you're also going to get beat over the head that your freight costs are out of control. And it's like, but this is the only way I could get it there in that amount of time that you said it had to be there. So you have to weigh out, hey, Alfred, good to see you. You had to weigh out the pros and cons of, you know, um, is it more important to incur that extra freight cost? Because if this doesn't get to the store, it's gonna, like, it's one of our front page ads, and it's gonna cause loss of sales. So yes, we're gonna pay the extra, grand or 2 grand, whatever it is that we have to get it there so that it hits on time and we get it there for the front page ad. So you have to balance out what you're able to do. So if you do have the ability to process those emotions, to sit in them, Good morning from Mexico City. Is that a bowling team shirt? You're glowing tonight. No, this is actually a dress. It's one of the sports kind of dress. So yes, thank you for noticing though. So as you're going through these, no, that's okay. It's okay. A bowling team shirt. I could see where you would get that. So feeling those feelings to the fullest is the fastest way to process them because after I did that today of just sitting with that and also giving myself the reassurance that I needed that it was okay to do whatever I needed to do for however long I needed to do that for. And then eventually I got to the point where those sad feelings that I was feeling, I would love to, but I don't have your number, Alfred. You'd have to send that to me. But so as you're going through those feelings, right, you're going to get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm done. It's like, it's like if you let a kid cry it out, they will get to the point where they stop crying. And you don't have to rush them. You don't have to get through anything. You just let them feel those feelings. And when they get through it, then they're kind of like, okay, I'm done. And then they move on to the next thing. So after I processed those emotions, one of the things I did, I went and did a mundane task of something that I've been meaning to do that I hadn't gotten around to doing, which was cleaning out my car. So I went and I vacuumed because it was a nice sunny day out. It was warmer than normal and it was beautiful. So I went out and I vacuumed out my car, cleaned out all the garbage, cleaned the windows, did all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, this actually feels pretty good. So you feel accomplished after doing those kind of things. So it's kind of like a different way to reward yourself for doing something that is you benefited from allowing yourself to feel those feelings to the fullest, and then also then doing something that's actually productive that you've gotten off of your to-do list. Now you've closed one of those loops that of things that you've been meaning to get around to that you didn't get around to. Why? Probably because you were so busy trying not to feel the feelings that you were feeling, right? So now that I've done that, so in doing that, you don't carry this residual around, right? You don't have to worry about should I feel this way or trying to change that. When we try to force that change, um, it just causes all this additional resistance that you don't need. So in feeling that, although it's not great when you're feeling those tough feelings, it's really important that you sit with them as long as you can. And if you find that you're getting a little bit dark, make sure that you have a support system to reach out to people that you can actually talk with to know that you have support there. But at the same time, it's much more important that you are able to provide that support to yourself because people change in your life. And sometimes they're not always available, or even if they are physically available, maybe they don't have the emotional bandwidth to help you through your emotions, and then that causes further damage. So um, it's not that you can't get support, but it is so much more important that you are always your greatest support, that you are able to support yourself through those tough times no matter what, because you're the only one that is going to be with you every step of your life. So this is why it's so important to do that internal work. And when we do that internal work and we are able to process those tough emotions, when other people show those tough emotions, it's not scary, it's not threatening for us. It is something that's fairly easy for us to be able to go, yep, I know exactly how that feels. And you don't have to try and change them either. You just sit beside them, you sit with them, and just offer them whatever it is that they need. And if that's nothing, that's okay. Allow them the privilege of just being a human being, right? They don't have to do anything. They don't have to prove their worth. They don't have to try and cover everything up to be happy and pretend like everything's fine. That is like so damaging because that's probably what's compounded the issue in the first place. So allowing yourself to feel those to the fullest depth is the fastest way to actually go through your emotions and feel those, um, where they don't have a long term impact on you, because and processing that through the right filters as well. So being an observer rather than a judgment of, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, oh, I shouldn't think that way. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have suicidal thoughts, I shouldn't have this depression, I shouldn't have this sadness, I should be over this by now. No, it's a matter of accepting you are where you are, and that there is valuable information in the emotions that you're feeling. There is something that you need to get out of this, that this is coming up for a reason, for you to look at, for you to understand, and for you to use that as a building block for strength. It's not a weakness to feel those tough emotions, it's a strength to feel those tough emotions. And the greater depth that you're able to feel those, I'm telling you, the amount of happiness and joy that you're also able to feel because you can go to those depths. It's like um, it's like expanding a vocal range, right? So if you can work at being able to sit comfortably with those lower notes or those higher notes, whatever it is, then you have a greater expanse, a greater vocal range, a greater emotional range. And that makes you very, very valuable to the people around you, to whether you're a leader, whether you're a coworker, whether you're a spouse, whatever it is, a family member, a friend, that you are a stronger sense of support for somebody else because you know how to process your own emotions, and you know how to be that support for yourself as well as being a support to others. So, there you have it, guys. So hopefully you found that helpful. If this is your first time joining in or you joined in late, you will be able to catch the recording on my YouTube channel, which is Coach Tina B 125. And I was uploading a few of the videos that I had missed uploading, so that was part of why I was being late, because I was having a burst of energy after going through what I went through, and I was like, okay, I need to get these uploaded and get the artwork posted and everything. So I got all that done. They're uploaded. I got one left to do, plus this one tonight, and then we're good. We're all caught up. So guys, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you have an amazing night, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye.